to part 22. So the instructions tells us to mount the bottom wing, which actually slots in quite tightly but firmly, and no issues as far as I'm concerned with that. Then to put in the bottom interplane struts, the two struts either side of the wing. So obviously you want to make sure that you've popped the holes in for those, and they actually went in okay. Now they ask you, obviously you've got to do the holes at the top and bottom for the middle wing for the interplane struts. Now they ask you to fit the middle wing. Now it's quite interesting because it says in the instructions, arrange and secure the servo leads so they do not interfere with the operation of the rudder elevator, etc. Okay. Assemble the middle wing into the fuselage, ensuring the spars are located in the fuselage slots. At the same time, insert the top of both lower interplane struts into the slots in the underside of the middle wing. No, the aileron servo leads should not be placed. The aileron servo leads should be placed to run behind the middle spar and next to the angled ribs. Well, that's the middle spar. So unless you're a wizard, I don't really know how you're going to do it unless you disconnect everything and then pop them back through again. So I'm kind of wondering about that, because that to me is the middle spar, but they'll only go to the back spar. So unless I'm misinterpreting it or a bit thick or something, I don't know. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. So, and they say to align with the tapered ribs. Those, what they mean is those ribs that go like this. I've taken that as a bit of a given, if I'm being honest. But anyway, so all the interplane struts are in. Now what I did do to see if they're level is I measured, let's see if I can show you this now. I measured on the flat surface 76 mil from the bottom of that wing to the bottom of that wing, and it was, when I last checked it, 76 mil there. So that tells me that's level and they're square on. Okay, so the next part I suggest will be to mount the top wing and put in the, now where have I put that? That's a good idea. I've put the blooming jig down to my site. I was only looking at it a minute ago. Anyway, so we'll be putting the jig in and the other interplane struts and then the top wing, and then we'll take another look at it. So I'll be back in a mo as soon as I found that jig. Right, so they ask you to make sure the jig's in the correct place, which it is, and I'm happy with that. To put the cabane struts in the left and the right. As I'm looking at it, it's my left, but there you go. And make sure that the outer struts are in and seated nicely. Now, don't forget that you have already cut this bit of skin out to allow that jig to sit in there. Okay, so if you haven't done it, rush off and do it now. Okay, now I've not trial fit this at all. This is totally as you see it. It's a bit fiddly getting the cabane struts in, partly because you don't want to puncture the skin. So I'm just trying to make sure I get those leads the correct side of those cabanes, which they look as though they are. I'm sitting the top wing on to these struts, so put you over there. You see all right? Yeah. No, I won't be able to see what you can see, so you have to bear with me. Slot them in. Now it's difficult for me to focus on that, so I'm just okay. Oh, this is awkward. Ah. Nearly in. Nearly in. Okay, that's in. Now the nearer one to you. All the cabanes have just dropped out. Goodness knows I'm going to get that back in. So you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. There, so both of those struts are in. Now, somehow, I've got to get that cabane back in without ruining all my good work so far. Yes, this is going to be fun. How am I going to do this now? Put this block under there. So I can partially see what I'm doing. Of course, this needs to go in at an angle. And I think, now that's a thought, does that jig go in the middle or behind? Let me just have a look at this instructions here. The jig looks like it goes behind. So see if we can get that in without puncturing the skin. Oh, yes. Yes. So now, hopefully, the outer slots can go in. Like so. Let's put a bit of compression on there. There. Now nothing's glued here at the moment. Let's see if we can check the back end, see what we can see there. Okay, so that top wing is correct on the left at least. On the right it's got to go in a bit more on that strut. Now before that sat quite nicely. I think that's in. The bottom looks a bit dodgy for some reason, I don't know why. Oh, that's just suddenly clicked in. Got my tweezers for the wires. Make sure they're this side. Okay. So now the middle wing doesn't want to seat properly. There looks a bit iff. Rest it flat, make sure it's absolutely flat on your building board, and check the struts are okay. Now it seems to be rocking a little bit. As I said, I've not practiced this. Now that middle wing seems to be correct. Okay. Now these cabanes, as I said in an earlier video, can adjust down slightly. So it means that pulling them out a bit, that's it. That's got it. Okay, seems to have got that one just about. They need to seat properly. So that's going to go up a bit. So yeah, this is fiddly. This is one of those occasions where you need a close modelling friend to help you out. It's just about right. It's just about right. So that's got to seat in a little bit better there. A little bit of downward pressure. And there you go. So let's see how that jig looks. I know you can't see this. Ah, right, the jig is not seated in. There you go. The jig is not seated in. So there we are. Now we're getting somewhere. Struts look all right. As before, a little bit of down pressure on the top wing puts everything, as far as I can see, in the correct place. And now it's just a case of getting the ruler out. So to the top wing from the bottom of the top wing is 150mm dead. I can't see very well in this light, and that is by a millimetre out. Hang on, it's 145, 6, 7, 8, 148. Okay, that's fine, because I can take the slack up on that. So that's where we are. That's where we are. And I don't know if any of that's been worth looking at because I couldn't see through the viewfinder. Well, that's what we've got. So you have to make sure that little slot there, wasn't in. Let's put a bit of, yeah, that's a bit of pressure on it there. So when I come to glue it, I'll just put a little bit of weight on that. But it gives it a bit of dihedral anyway, so that's not a bad thing. But it was like that when I did the test, so I'm not really too concerned about that. If I do glue anything last, I think it's got to be the cabanes, so I can make them sit in properly. But I'm going to read the instructions now and see how far we get. Right, well, I've pinched an idea from Cliff Harvey. I bought a stand that looks a bit like a light fitting and the camera on it. I thought it might be easier, so this is a bit of an experiment now. So, wow, this looks complicated. So I think what I need to do, I'm not going to follow exactly the instructions because I think they're saying to glue the top wing in and stuff and then work your way down. I think I need to work from the bottom up because I need to know that these are all aligned. And if I know the bottom wing is correct, then I can just go ahead because I have to know that they're all parallel. In other words, the line of this is the same distance from there, from that top part to that top part as that part to that part. So in other words, I don't want the middle wing to be like that. I kind of suspect it is. So what I want to get the lower and the middle wing aligned correctly, and then I'll put the top wing on. It's on now, but it's not glued in. So that's what I'm going to do. And I want to do that off camera just for now because I just want to be quick and get those in. And once I'm happy with that, I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so I have glued in the bottom wing. I've glued in the middle wing here, here and here. And now I'm just going to check out the angle of incidence here. What you've got to do, well, there's one way of doing it, is to have a level. and you put the level on the flat side of the wing, and if you know that the rest of this, say for instance the back here, okay, if you know that's level like that, yeah, so that's level, and then the wing, especially the middle one and the top one, has to be level also. So you put the spirit level underneath, make sure it's flat and touching all surfaces, and that says it's got to, the front end's got to come up slightly. So that's what I do, and I know when I come to properly, I've only tacked it down, I'm going to properly tack it down, that middle wing angle of incidence will be correct, and then you come to the top wing, and if I tilt it like that, right, that's now angle of incidence is correct, and that's how we do it. So I'm going to wick in the bottom outer struts because I know the angle's correct here. This is flat on the board, that's telling me that's level, so I know that's absolutely correct, and there you go. So these wings need to be similar or same angle as that other end. Okay, right, I'm going to turn it off then wick it in because it's just easier and quicker for me. Okay, right, I've got a handheld, that's why you can see all the shaking. Now I've glued everything in, and just to show that everything is in line, you see all those front leading edges there are in a line there, see, like that, and then you have a look at it there, and all the wings are level. So I've had the level on it, I've held it for an hour in my workshop, and it's blooming hot in here, I'm sweating like a good one, and had the there you go, had the level on it, there you go, so the wings are level, so the angle of incidence is okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let that dry, and in the morning, well probably in the evening actually, I'll cut these slots here and take this jig out, and then we should be good to go. So while that's happening, I shall read a little bit further on the instructions and see how we get on. But there's not masses of glue lying everywhere, so that's good. It is fiddly, expect it to be fiddly. You may want to get, you know, another pair of hands from a willing person who can understand your instruction, just to save a lot of frustration, and you should be able to, you know, with the next pair of hands get it done even easier and quicker. But it is fiddly. So anyway, so there you are, I'm lifting it up by the top wing, it's not all coming apart, and everything is good. Okay, see you in the next bit. Okay, so I think we're getting not too far away from finishing this particular part. Now I have wetted down the frontage underneath the guns. I'll get the proper name for it. So I wet it down and I wrapped it around the isopropanol alcohol, which is not that easy to say for some. So it's all dried out and it's shaped like that. So in that case then, if the camera will go down that far, hang on. Ooh. Yep. So that should, by rights, I'll just take these guns out. I'm just resting them there, they're not doing anything. I don't know why I did it, if I'm being honest. So that should, let's have a look. Yes, so there you go. So all you got to do now is just put some skin on it. It's is it advisable to put the skin on while in place? I think they intimate that. I don't know, but it's difficult to put it on and keep it rounded. So let's have a look around at that. So there you go. The upper turtle deck is in at the front. I think it's got the turtle deck, well, the deck anyway, whatever you want to call it, the front bit. I actually on this occasion elected to cover it off the model. I think it was just it's my preference, and it turned out okay, so no issues there. Now then, what you have got to do now is put a piece of film over the gap where you had the jig, where the jig was. So that went straight in, no real issues there. And next, I think, is the guns. Right, so I don't think they're going to fit straight in. Well, there again, I never really expected them to. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's just the corner of the leather. So it's either cut the leather or cut the guns. Which one do you think I should go for? I'm not really sure myself. I could cut a groove, I suppose, in the guns. Where's my sharp knife gone? Got a horrible feeling about it. Well, they do now fit, and rather snugly, I think. I think I'll trim just a little few millimeters, pushing my luck. Always pushing my luck. Where's the tweezers go? There you go. Let's see if that makes any difference. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And we shall, let me just do a test fit with the pilot. Just one moment. Here I are. Because I thought to test fit it, I'll put the guns in, because once you glue them in, I mean, they're in. What do you think? Any good? You reckon it's too tall? Does it need to come down a bit, perhaps? Don't know. Alright, come back to that. So anyway, I think we will end it there. And I think that's the end of 22, so we'll see you hopefully in 23. This is where things are going to really start getting interesting. See you there.